Welcome to Two Finger Tuesday, a production of the James McGee Show. Conversations are just easier had over a good old two-finger. So pour yourself a glass of your favorite booze and join your host, James McGee, for a drink and some real talk.
Welcome back to the James McGee Show. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means? It is Two Finger Tuesday. So we got some new friends tonight. So Tom said he made some friends, and I told him that's bullshit. Me and Joe were the only friends that he had. We were the only two people that liked him. So
That's
but he
true.
found he found some people that felt sorry for him. So I'm gonna let Tom introduce our new guest tonight. Man, it means so much. Y'all could be doing anything tonight. Y'all are at a conference. You could be with other people, and I'm so happy that y'all are with us. And I'll let Tom or y'all introduce yourselves and a little bit about where y'all from and what y'all do. Then we'll get into what y'all are drinking. That's the first thing we got to talk about is what we're drinking. And then we will talk about what y'all got going on this week.
All right. Well, we have Captain Carly Dyer from the Mason, Ohio Police Department, and I've got Major Brett Richardson from the Warren County Sheriff's Office. They're both police officers in Warren County, Ohio, which is near Cincinnati. And we're all up here together for the Great Lakes Leadership Seminar that's hosted by the Cincinnati Field Office of the FBI.
Well, that is awesome. Why don't y'all just take a minute or two and tell us a little bit about yourselves and
I'm afraid
not
of
much. And yeah.
Sorry,
Ladies
I was dodging a beat. A little bit about myself. I just was recently promoted to captain a year and a half roughly ago, January 23. I've been in the profession, if you count my jail time as working, 19 years. So, I've done a facet of different things, canine to schools to first line supervisor, just a gamut of stuff. So,
And now you're the commander of the patrol division.
yes.
So actually, the assistant chief of the department
Oh,
and over patrol.
That is that's where it's at. That's where I spent the majority of my career. So that's definitely where it's at. And I'm so happy for you. And I'm happy for you, and I'm gonna pray for you at the same time.
I appreciate that. I need the prayers. I'm just getting started, and I can already tell it's gonna be a long. Still got at least 8 years left, and so it's gonna be a long 8 years.
Well, I tell you what, it's gonna be long, but it's gonna be short because speaking from Tom and Joe and I, it seems like a long time, but when it's over, it's over. So, All right, Brett, what about you?
So I've been at the sheriff's office my entire career, and actually during that entire career, I've spent it strictly in corrections. So I've done just about everything you can do as far as in regards to corrections. So currently, I'm the division commander of the corrections division.
Okay,
A little bit about me: married, some kids, love to ride.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And again, welcome both of you, and I appreciate y'all coming. So, Joe, let's start with you on what we're drinking tonight.
I am drinking in honor of the screwballs that usually show up on this. Some of the screwball whiskey, little peanut butter flavor. And if you haven't had it, give that a shot. I was very skeptical when somebody told me about it, but it's a nice change of pace for like a after dinner drink or an evening drink. So,
all right. So, Tom, what about you?
Tonight I'm drinking the one of my favorites, which is the Coors Brewing Company's bourbon that's bottled in Kentucky with Colorado water. It's called Five Trails, and I was very excited to find some bottles of it up here in the good old Buffalo area. I've not been able to find it in Cincinnati, so I'm super excited to be having that tonight.
Go
ahead.
I love when we can find stuff that we don't have here.
Oh,
I love being able to find things like that. That's awesome.
I'd show you the bottle, but it's propping up the phone. So
isn't that illegal? And to have that out there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, did you run that? You run that over in your Firebird?
Is it what?
Did you run that over in your Firebird?
No, I wish. I've got the Lincoln tonight. I was a little afraid to drive the Trans Am all the way up from Cincinnati.
Hey, who was the guy in our class that had the moonshine from North Carolina?
Which one?
Which one?
What was his name? He always had the moonshine.
I can't remember. I met him on the bus trip to New York, and that was my first. What do you call it? First time I had moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are drinking Miller Lite, right?
Yep.
Hey, keep it simple. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm drinking tonight. I'm drinking. I went a little upscale tonight because Tom said he had some friends, and I said, "Well, I can't break out the George Dickel. We got some, some new friends." I didn't know y'all drinking Miller Lite. I'd have brought out the George Dickel. But I'm drinking Macallan 15-year Scotch, and that was a gift. I'm not a big Scotch drinker, but man, this is some different level stuff. I won't get you too used to that because when the free bottle runs out, there won't be another one. So what I'd like to talk about tonight, Tom and I talked a little bit about the training that y'all are at, and Tom's presenting, and I know y'all went to Tom's presentation, and I've been to it, and it is top notch. It is. I'm so glad that people are bringing him in because it just, especially what Carly, with your position, God forbid you go through what Tom went through. It's going to help you, and it's going to help you prepare. And I've been through it. I was the funeral coordinator for line of duty death, and retiree funeral coordinator for almost 20 years. And people, we talked about this before. People don't realize what departments are going through when you lose an officer. So Tom, I'm so proud of you of doing that. But what Joe and I talked about off camera a little while ago is conferences seem to be moving towards wellness, and Joe's always at a conference. It always seems like it's at a beach somewhere, but Joe's always somewhere presenting. Tom's been presenting. So why don't y'all give us some thoughts on that? Do y'all see that paradigm shift and it's starting to switch to that, and why it's such importance for that shift?
I would have to say, yeah, you would absolutely be seeing a shift. And, I think it's we went so long with, we would talk the talk, but no one would walk the walk. And we go out in the streets and that's all we deal with is mental health. Like I'd say 95% of the things that we're dealing with are all mental health based. So it's like, we're preaching to these people, you need to go get help. You need to go get help. And meanwhile, we're sitting in our cruisers and struggling ourselves. And it's like, well, what would we tell the next schmuck that we deal with on the road?
Yeah.
What would we deal with? And so, or how we would deal with that. It's like, they're finally, because you are seeing departments that have the alcoholism, the, different addictions, bad coping skills, all the way around. And so it's refreshing to see that this is finally not a stigma. They're making conversation about it, a healthy conversation, and just showing that you're going to be supported and getting you that help that you need.
Would you agree 5 years ago, you probably really couldn't find more than one or two
Oh no.
of these
Types of
trainings
training.
or classes related to wellness? And now, I mean, you can, there's probably more than a handful to pick from throughout the year, but it's more recent than even 5 years ago.
Joe, I'd love to hear your take on that.
Oh, absolutely. When back in the day, I went through the academy back in 1985, so that kind of dates me. But we didn't have anything as far as training on how to deal with mental health calls at all. And like you guys are saying, that once you hit the road, it's probably 80% of what you're dealing with is people that are struggling with something within the mental health system, or as far as not having any coping mechanisms, alcoholism, and not being able to take care of themselves. And so you were having to make it up on the fly, and it wasn't a discussion internally. Once we started realizing that, then it was like, well, how do we help the community get through this? Well, where do you get your officers and your staff from? You get it from the human population who aren't like pre-programmed to deal with the frequency of trauma that we see and deal with. And then you just expect them just to do it and move on and not have any impact. And it can potentially damage people because we don't give them the resources to process the stuff appropriately. And why we weren't even talking about it, right? It was just get busy.
Yep. Well, we were in class yesterday in the afternoon. We had a presenter here that was a retired FBI agent, and she made a statement that I thought was really hit the nail on the head. She said that we in our profession deal with a landscape of suffering. I thought, wow, it's a nail on the head. And with all that, I mean, just like Carly said, it's just, we see it all the time and we're exposed to it all the time. And, really almost everything we do is dealing with situations where people are either having their worst day or where they're victimized. And, that's depressing. And, although it's fortunate that people maybe coming into the job nowadays have a little bit more open mind on mental health things, it's that whole, we got to be in control and all that. And we have to be the strong ones makes us really reluctant to say we need help.
Yeah. Well, Carly brought up a good point, and it's something that Joe, you and Tom have heard me say. And we've talked about it, and y'all agree that anytime there's a problem in this nation and we don't know what to do with it, we give it to the cops.
Sure.
We don't know what to do with the mentally ill, we give them to the cops. We don't know what to do with the homeless, we give them to the cops. We don't know what to do with drug abuse, we give it to the cops. So we're asking 22-year-old men and women with very little training to deal with these kind of issues that very educated, very people whose job it is can't figure out. So what I'm glad that we're doing is we're giving them, when we're training them on how to deal with their own issues, that's giving them training on how to deal with the people they're dealing with every day. And I think it was you, Carly, that said, that's 95% of what we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And that's a big deal. Taking care of yourself and then knowing how to deal until we can stop giving these issues to the cops. And I don't know how to stop that. I wish I did. We've at least got to do a better job at giving them the resources to deal with these issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it really boils down to the fact that when people are struggling with something they can't deal with, they need to get a hold of somebody. And who's going to answer the phone? The police are going to answer the phone. We're always going to answer the phone. So why do they call? Because they know we're going to answer. Whether or not it's something that we consider that it's our responsibility or not, they need help. Then
yeah, I agree, Joe, but let's give them the tools to do it.
Yep.
Let's give them the proper training and let's give them the proper education. And more than anything, as administrators, the support when things go south.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tom, what do you think?
Well, I think that support element is so critically important. We had a speaker today where we were going over kind of like crisis media relations, and that's one of the things that it's so easy to fall prey to either the conventional wisdom or that sense of, well, I have to say the right thing, I have to be politically correct. The reality is our people need to hear that we're behind them and that we've got their backs, and that that there's nothing wrong with saying, yes, we'll look, if, let's say, for example, there was an accusation of misconduct or something like that. There's nothing wrong with saying, yes, we're going to look into it and we're going to be transparent about it. But the bottom line is the vast majority of things we deal with, our officers are doing an excellent job out there with it. There's just a tiny fraction out there of anything that's wrong. And when you think of the kind of things that our officers in the field face day in and day out, and the hundreds of thousands of contacts that we have with people across the country every day, I mean, it's just it's an honor to be associated with a profession like this, and it's really, really important for police commanders to know the importance of making sure that their people are supported in both word and deed.
Was it Judy Powell? Was it her?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was.
Man, I hope y'all paid a fucking attention because she is.
There was no way you couldn't.
Yeah.
She was so dynamic. It was crazy.
It was one of the best classes I've sat through.
Well, I went through. She did the PIO FBI lead a PIO course, and she retired from it a couple years ago. But I'm glad that she's still doing engagements like this. I'll tell you, I did media for a while, and my last job when I was the chief of staff for a DA, I implemented the media policy and the procedure. A lot of it came from her. she is the absolute best, and I'm
She
so
is the
glad
authority.
we were able to see her.
Yeah.
Very sharp.
So yeah, there's that's important too, because we the as much as we want to or we can hate the media, it's just there's no different than we're not escaping dealing with the media, and we're not escaping dealing with the public, and we're not escaping dealing with the 95% that Carly talked about. So hey, give our let's give our officers the tools to deal with that. And making the media the enemy is just not going to work, because you know what? Everybody's the media. Fuck. I mean, I'm the media now. I've got a
Oh, wait a
podcast.
minute.
So now,
Did
yeah.
you
So
realize
now,
that, Tom? Did you
Yeah.
realize
What's that?
James is part of the media?
I know. But see, I embrace the media, so I embrace James. I love the guy.
He's one of them now.
That's right.
yeah,
One of them.
I'm the
That's a
enemy
different
now.
show. That's a different
So
show
everybody-
altogether. Tom embracing
Exactly.
James. That's not what we're here tonight for.
Yeah. Oh,
If you
I forgot to say this. So we're gonna do this tonight officially. Y'all are not guests anymore. Y'all are being promoted tonight. Now y'all are Two Finger Tuesday co-hosts.
Oh boy, I am humbled. I am
You
very
have
humbled.
arrived. Hey, Tom Wells, you have finally arrived in life.
I'm a member of the media now. I'll raise a glass to that. Thank you, my brother.
Hey, we'll do a tell you what, we'll do a toast at the end. We didn't do a toast yet, but we'll do a toast
Okay.
at the end.
It's a deal. I'll even get in the camera frame. How about that?
No,
But
that-
here
that
is
would- nobody wants to
here's-
see you, Tom. They see you every week. Nobody wants to see you.
here's what happens though when we're having these discussions and the connections and the presentations, right? So last week I get called by a first responder that happens to be based in Ohio, and he's looking for a therapist. He's looking for an IOP program for a first responder, right? So who went through an IOP program and has a really good first responder therapist in Ohio?
This
Mr.
guy.
Wells.
Yep.
Mr. Wells. So first call that I made after I talked with that person for over an hour was to Tom. And I said, Tom, can you hook me up with your IOP and your therapist? Because this is exactly what this person needs. And sure enough, I was able to do that. And they were able to connect with the programs that Tom went through.
I am so glad to hear that. I'm really glad.
It's a network of having these discussions and recognizing the fact that there are quality resources out there that can actually help people in the first responder community.
Yep. It's probably, for me, it's my biggest regret and my biggest feeling of failure about that whole situation when Kaya was killed, that I wasn't better prepared from a mental health standpoint. And I feel so good now to be able to help, like when you called the other day, be able to help and have resources that are good, credible people that are really able to help. I feel like I'm making up for my past screw up.
Well, here's the thing: is that we can dwell in the past, right? And that actually is depression.
Yeah.
Or we can worry about the future, and that's anxiety. And
that's what we're doing.
We have to place our feet where we are, right? In the present. There's a reason they call it the present, because it's a gift. And if you pay attention to it, you can actually get something out of it.
That's right.
All you can do is do better today than you did yesterday.
That's exactly right.
And Tom, I'm gonna disagree a little bit, because I think that comes with the position that you held. I think that you can have all the preparation, but you weren't ready yet because you were taking care of everybody else, and that's just who you are. Yeah. And I think that what has to happen is somebody has to be. I'm hoping that if something happens again like that, somebody's like, "Hey, I got to take care of my chief," because he's taking care of everybody else. So I think I think, Tom, you did what you were supposed to do as a leader, and it's fucking hard, man. This leadership thing all sounded good with the titles and all that stuff, but man, it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that if you really break it down, right? Let's dissect this. And it's a horrible situation that Tom had to go through. It's terrible that she had to pass away, but you did not have any control over that situation, right?
And I do know that.
The only way that you got to where you are right now today is by going through that situation the way that you went through it and recognizing what you had to do. You had to carry the department, and then you actually recognized the fact that you weren't okay after it was done, and you had to do something about it. And there are
Yep.
so many people out there that won't make that step.
I know.
When I was
Frankly,
talking to this guy last week, he's like, the hardest call that I ever made was the call right before the call I talked to you.
Yeah.
And then we talked for an hour and a half, and he's like, man, I feel better just talking to you. Absolutely, because you know what? That's the second call. That's easier than the first call. And then the
Right.
next call is going to be easier than the first call. And then you just start getting better.
That's right.
You're 100%.
I mean, I do. I feel just a million times better. I can, like I was telling these guys here that, like when I first started giving this presentation, it was really hard. I mean, it was, it's intimidating as it is just to speak in front of people. But I feel like now that I, because I feel so healthy with everything, that I feel like I can deliver it in a way that's helpful to other people and really kind of, hone it down to where it's really beneficial, as opposed to, I mean, I can tell you the first couple of times I did it, it was like kind of, I don't want to say stumbling through it, but it was like, you're trying to remember everything, you're trying to, get it all straight. And it just, now that I have myself in order, I feel so much better about being able to communicate it.
It's a lot more polished.
In Oklahoma City, Tom, was that one of the first big groups that you did?
Oh yeah, that was the first time I did it nationally.
Yeah. And,
yep. And it was actually the third time I did it, period, was in Oklahoma City. I've only done this, I think today was the 7th time, maybe, I think.
I was honored to be in the front row, sitting there next to his wife during that presentation. It was just amazing.
Honored to have you there, brother. I appreciate both.
Kansas City, I'll be there again. I was telling Joe off camera, I registered today. I realized today I hadn't registered yet, so I went ahead and registered, got my flight, and I will be there. So let's close this thing out with what I'd like to do is our two new guests. What I'd like to hear from y'all is y'all still have skin in the game. Y'all still have some time left. Where would y'all like to see this profession headed? The direction y'all like to see for the rest of y'all's career? Keep heading the direction we are with the wellness. What would y'all like to see?
For me personally, the wellness is something that's got to continue. There's really been a workforce shift in the last 3 to 4 years. Also, that's something that we really need to get figured out, because the way that we handled business in the past, as far as recruiting or expecting people to come to you, that doesn't work anymore. So that's something that we need to get a handle on, I think.
We talk about that a lot, and you're right. We'll talk. Y'all come back if y'all want to come back next week or another week. I'd love to strictly talk about recruiting and get y'all's ideas on that.
Perfect.
So Carly, what do you think?
It's a loaded question, because we, the mental health piece is definitely a huge piece of it, but then, we've also got the retention piece on top of the recruiting. Yeah. And I think it boils down, I really, I would never stand on saying I'm a feminist or any way, shape, or form, but we lack that female touch in law enforcement, and we have a lot to offer, but we can't open that door fully to them because there's still a stigma out there of our responsibilities in the world culturally, and it makes it tough. And so I'd really like to see, before I leave, that start culturally adapting to different ways households run to welcome both female and male into the profession more. Make it a little easier.
I totally agree. And Tom will can tell you a little more, but my wife is a captain with the department that I retired from, been there 27 years. She went to the NA last year, and I think it's episode 4, either 4 or 5, is Assistant Chief Erica Nielsen. She retired from Portland. She was a commander with Portland. Now she's assistant chief with Vancouver or Washington. Watch that one. We touched a lot on the recruiting, the retention, and with female officers, and you're spot on. And you know what? It's okay to you're right. Female, we could have a whole nother topic on that of what females bring to this profession. I mean, it's just we've got to do better with recruiting and retention. Really, I think, Joe, you talked about it before, and Tom, you did too. Retention is actually bigger than recruiting. We got to retain the ones that we have. We get them there, and then if we don't treat them right, you got to keep them. That's how you. Yeah. And I think that I'll end with this. There was I gave a presentation at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and everybody talks about, man, and not just in law enforcement profession. This is just in your general labor force. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. While I think there's two words missing from that. Nobody wants to work for you is the big issue. I think that we have to look at ourselves and just quit saying, hey, nobody wants to work. No, nobody wants to work for me. Why don't they want to work for me? Why don't they want to work with me? So we do have to look at that. So I want to do a toast. The toast is to our new guests. I'm going to tell y'all are welcome here anytime. Love to have y'all on my full podcast, the High Level Human podcast, one week, and really dive into y'all's career and y'all's life. So here's to y'all. And here's to everybody who has the pleasure of working for y'all, because I can tell y'all are just some top shelf leaders. So here's
Thank
to
you
it.
for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime.
Cheers, Jimmy.
So until next time, tomorrow night, we got Wine Wednesday. I don't know who's coming on. And then when I figure out who's coming on, then we'll know what we're going to talk about. But until tomorrow night, McGee, Wells, Collins, Carly, and Brett are out.